right, good morning. Good to see you right here on Wellness Wednesday. I hope that you've had a better start to the day, and I hope that you've slept well and slept enough, okay? Because that is the subject of the conversation today, and that is all about behind closed eyes. And what we're looking into is the power of sleep and your body's most underrated superpower. And it's true, because according to statistics, this is what they say. They say that sleep is actually considered a neglected public issue, okay? So public, tuanzie hapo. And then the other part says 32%, 2.8%, so roughly around 33% of adults, and this is globally, do not get enough sleep, meaning about 1/3 of the adult population is sleep deprived. So what exactly does that even mean? Because we've grown up in a society where we're told, if you sleep too much, you're gonna become poor. And rich people do not sleep, okay? So then where is the balance, okay? Where is the balance in terms of, yes, being healthy, and this is both, you know, mental health and physical health, but at the same time, also getting enough sleep and good quality sleep. So today we're going to analyze all the different facets when it comes to sleep and why it is neglected, but why you should actually think about sleep, okay? And how important it is for your general well-being, okay? And even at that, even as you think about that, we have a question for you this morning, and I really, really love this question. So the question says, is it really possible to function well on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, or is it just a myth fueled by toxic productivity culture? Okay, let me do that again, okay? Is it really possible to function well on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, or is it just a myth fueled by toxic productivity culture? That is what we want to understand today, okay? You know the drill by now. At EdTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, is how you can reach us. Use our WhatsApp number 0112 500 400, or we're live. So that means you can call in and ask any question that you have as far as sleep is concerned. And earlier on, when I was coming to the studio, my colleagues Bishengele and Winnie Wangeshi were asking, where do we feature as moms, okay, when it comes to sleep? Because I don't believe there is any mom who gets 8 hours or 7 hours of sleep, okay? Where do they feature? Not to worry, because we have the perfect panel to discuss that today, okay? So what you need to do is just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And I'm going to introduce my guests and just allow them to introduce themselves. Wajuzie Sarah, okay? Starting from my immediate left, we have Dr. Wende Kimi, who's a sleep consultant or a somnologist. Hey, hi. It is so good to see you.
Likewise.
Say hi to the people, tell them who you are and all the good things about yourself.
I will try and be brief and not just technical.
Yeah.
I am just a sleep consultant.
Sleep consultant.
You come to me if you have sleep issues, whether it's your baby, your teenager, your grandma, your mom, whoever it is, I'm the person to see.
Okay, sleep doctor,
yes.
In this case. Sleep consultant. And sleep. And like, okay, who is this beautiful face doing that to me? See? Please say hi.
Oh, good morning, everybody. My name is Nancy Wiro Kabiru. I am a psychologist, family and marriage therapist. So any matters mental health, that's my place where I thrive and I support you.
Yeah. Okay. And you see your title, psychologist, mental health.
Yes.
You know, and I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, so psychologists are supposed to help us with mental health, but yours is very specific towards mental health, which is really cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for making the time this morning. And Dr. Wende, we'll just start with you because you're the sleep doctor today on the show, right?
Yes.
So sleep. Can we just first of all just understand sleep? Because from what we know, is sleep is we get into bed, we close our eyes, and then that's it. We wake up the following morning and we consider that sleep, whether it's 8 hours, 10 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, as long as we've closed our eyes. But really, that is not just it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Can we just understand sleep in itself?
I think you did that introduction when you said it's about quality sleep. You just don't get into bed and just sleep.
And then that's it.
Yes.
No.
Sleep will be determined by how well you feel in the morning. So if you can, if you're the kind of person who will keep snoozing and thinking, finally get out of bed, you can tell by the analysis of your day. How have you been feeling? I have been moody, I go to work, I'm not productive, I can see I'm making mistakes. There's this quote that people say, I'm very clumsy. Have you thought maybe, just maybe, you know, you've not been sleeping so well?
Yeah.
So we call it sleep satisfaction. It is how you feel in the morning.
Right.
Ideally, if you've gotten quality sleep, trust me, you'll wake up even before the alarm.
Really?
Yes. Or you literally just get out of bed and be like, yeah, good morning.
Without snoozing.
without snoozing, I will redirect that one and say, there's this thing moms say, that your child is your alarm.
Yeah.
Do you see how they get out of bed? That's exactly how you should get out of bed. Cheaper and ready to face your day.
Wait, what? Yeah. Is that even, like, in what world is that even possible?
Yes. We have just become what I call high-functioning, sleep-deprived humans.
Yeah. High-functioning, sleep-deprived.
Yes. We just want to just...
Yeah.
We've just made it normal. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
but that should not be the case.
No, that should
It's
not
possible
be the
that you can actually wake up in the morning without snoozing and without feeling tired, without feeling the need to go back to bed.
There are steps.
You know, it's interesting because, and I think Nancy also mentioned this. She was like, you know, I was starting to feel a little bit irritable, and I asked myself, did I sleep enough? Why was sleep the first thing that you actually thought about?
Well, because I know the importance of sleep.
Yeah.
When we are looking at your mental health or how you're functioning, sleep is one of the areas that we will tackle.
Okay.
So I tell people, you can look at sleep in different angles. There are those who say, I function in 5. Well, let's see how long your life is going to be. Let's see how well you're going to be healthy. Because there are other factors, like you might get high blood pressure, you might get water retention, you might, people who develop, what is this, cognitive illness.
Yeah.
So the brain stops functioning well because you deprived yourself sleep at some point. Then issues with memory, issues with your mood, issues with how you perceive a situation, your reaction. Like if I throw something at you, are you able to catch it on time, or will it fall and you are still trying to grab that? All that is affected by your sleep. We see sleep as a major cause of accidents, right? Because research indicates that a drunk person and a sleep-deprived person, the sleep-deprived person is actually more a risk factor than a drunk person. Why? Because you're not able to reason well and on time. Sleep affects how your brain grows or interprets things. So if you look at the different stages of development, a child needs about 18 hours and above when it's an infant, so that its brain can grow well. And when that is interfered, their cognitive abilities are affected. Then we have a lot of cases with adolescents being diagnosed with ADHD, because you see a lot of symptoms about sleep when you say irritability, when you say mood dissociation or anger outburst. We can associate that to ADHD, but sometimes it's a misdiagnosis because this adolescent is not able to sleep well. Why are they not able to sleep well? Because of the hormonal changes their bodies are going through. Their time, this onset for sleep is usually pushed forward. So it's pushed forward, and we expect this adolescent to wake up early. So have they had enough sleep? No, they have not. So when we look at sleep, just think about food. You just don't eat to get full, right? So if you don't get quality sleep, it's like you're having an unbalanced diet.
You're just eating because, they say we eat, but
and you'll have the energy, you can push it, but at some point, your body will cave in because of lack of certain nutrients. Now with sleep, your body will cave in because of overproduction of certain hormones or lack of production of certain hormones.
Wow. Hey, okay, that's a lot to think about. That's really a lot to think about. Because, again, most of the time, we don't really consider sleep. We're just thinking, hustle. Usually, economy ni mbaya. And the way tuna power pressure, the rich only sleep for only 5 hours or 4 hours or 3 hours. My mom used to tell me, "Nyinyi la lady, unajua maskini ndio wanalala sana." So we've grown up with that pressure that you don't need to sleep, right? Or you don't need to sleep this much because, hey, poverty is
associated to that. Because that is a societal, imposition on you. But if you look at a normal case scenario, you are expected to sleep for 8 hours. You're expected to be productive for 8 hours, and you're expected to do your own self-development and all that, say work, and all that, or learn for another 8 hours. So try and fit everything around that, right?
Because 8, then translates to
24
hours.
If you think about it that way, then it makes sense. There are people who will commit so much to, say, exercising, but they will not commit to having enough quality sleep. You know, it's an art that we have to unlearn and learn again for your own betterment. You will be more productive when you have had adequate sleep.
Now, here's the thing, when we talk about adequate, because both of you are mentioning good quality, adequate sleep.
Yes.
So maybe Jana, I slept for 7 hours. Because I remember I looked at my alarm and I was like, oh, I have 7 hours and 30-something minutes to sleep. But I woke up this morning slightly tired. And I'm like, why are you tired and you slept for 7 hours? So I think that that brings the whole conversation about quality. Because we were discussing with our makeup artist, I'm telling her, listen, I feel so tired. I feel like I have not slept enough. I feel like I have done so much work with my brain at night. Now I am so tired. And I don't understand why. So maybe you will help at this point, right? Understanding the quality aspect of it. What exactly does it mean when we say someone has had good quality sleep?
Remember that quality sleep is not just a one-day thing.
Okay.
Today you can sleep for 7 hours and maybe the last 5 days you've been sleeping 4 hours. So just because you've had one single day that you've slept for 7 hours, you've been accumulating a sleep debt for a while. So finally, when you're like, yes, I have finally gotten myself 7 hours, that does not mean you've paid your debt. The sleep debt you'll pay it with interest. And that means that when there's one statistic that I really love, that if you miss a weekend of sleep, you're going to take 4 days to recover that sleep. So now imagine you didn't sleep on Saturday and Sunday, you'll recover your sleep on Thursday. And then now you keep repeating it. Friday, you want to do other activities, you want to go out.
Saturday, Sunday.
So when does this cycle ever end? So it doesn't end. And so again, we are very high functioning people on sleep deprivation who could or are using other substances to stay alive. Because again, the hustle game is also requiring you to do a lot. So you're pushing yourself, and then that means that equals ideally you're going to be on substances just to keep yourself, to keep yourself alive, which it's something that she said. That's where now anxiety and depression starts to kick in. Right? Because your brain is barely shutting down. Something you said, you've been using your brain so much. Allow your brain to shut down.
I mean, I know overthinkers will come in and be like, we are trying, but we just cannot shut our brains down.
Keyword, intentionality. You really must be intentional. It's easy to say, 7 to 9 hours. Wow. But then how do you get there? You intentionally do it.
Or someone will be like, that's a lot of time to sleep. But no, it's not.
Your body needs to rest. You know, so 7 to 9 hours means that you really need to have a plan. You just don't get home, you're Netflixing the whole night. I don't know, then you remember, I have a project. Then I have a project that I need to do. It's already 1 a.m. You need to wake up at 4. And you're like, the first thing is coffee. Right? You want to be on coffee. And you're on these roads of ours, sleep deprived. Like she said, you will be the first
accidents left, right, and
sleeping on the wheel constantly.
Oh, no. You shouldn't do that. Okay, so then when you understand the sleep cycle, because again, like we said, so it's not just about you getting to bed and shut your eye and then that's it. There's a process before you get to that level where we say, this one, alala vizuri. Because we can always tell when someone slept well and when someone did not sleep well, okay? So can we talk about that cycle? Because I know we have like around 4 minutes to go on a break.
I'll try and not put the scientific terms on it. I'll try and just, as layman language, it's the layman language of it. Ideally, you're awake, you get to bed. So you're in alert mode, right? The second stage is basically you are in the drowsy mode, where now you're consciously hearing everything around you, but you're slowly drifting yourself into sleep. Then we get into the deepest part of sleep, which is, of course, the first 5 hours of the night at the deepest part of your sleep.
Really?
Yes, the first 5 hours of the night at the deepest part of your sleep. That's why you can hear everything at midnight and 1 a.m. because you're literally shifting gear into REM sleep, where you are, I say, the dream state of sleep, right? A lot of people complain that between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. they can barely sleep, but sleep at that stage is very, very light. Right?
Very light?
Yes, it's light sleep because you're constantly dreaming, you're tossing and turning. 4 a.m. you can hear, I don't know whose bus, whose car. So at that stage of sleep, it is very, very light sleep. Right? And then slowly, as the sleep hormone melatonin is leaving your body in the morning, you're back to alert mode, right? Now, all those cycles must take place.
Must
take place. Most of the people go through stage 1 and in 2 minutes they're asleep. Right? Now
Yeah.
the problem is, in the morning, you're more tired than you went to bed.
Why is that though?
And a lot of Kenyans, we say, you KO. You're not supposed to KO.
Yeah.
You need to literally go to bed. And that's why there is something we call a wind down. You know, get to bed. You know, for those who love meditating, for those who like journaling.
Yeah.
Like, just
Those who want to read.
prepare yourself for bed.
For bed.
Most of the time, we are those people of like, it's one more episode, it's one more scroll, it's one more add to the cart. Am I? Yes. And then finally, when now sleep is already overcoming you, you actually fall asleep.
Yeah.
All these 4 stages really must take course for you to actually wake up in the morning feeling very, very
But do people
refreshed.
get to that level of deep sleep really? Do
Yes,
we?
they do. We do.
Ever?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Like I said, intentionality means that there are other factors that may contribute to your lack of sleep.
Okay.
But then once you deal with them,
Yeah.
then everything else will actually fall into place.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen, we'll talk about the moms, because I know moms are watching you this morning and like, okay, I have to, first of all, make sure my family is okay, the kids are, go to bed. By the time they go to bed and by the time I sit down to even eat, it's almost midnight. And then by the time I start preparing myself to go to bed, it's like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. By the time I sleep and wake up, I need to be up by 5. So there's literally no preparation, quote unquote, for me to sleep. But like you said, intentionality. So we'll get to that levels where, so then how do we prepare ourselves to bed, okay? Before we go on a break, what exactly happens to our brain when we sleep or when we prepare ourselves what exactly happens?
Well, when you're falling asleep and you go through the stage 1, stage 2, she's simplified it, and it's a very good thing. So when you go into sleep, the mind is able to reorganize your experiences, file them, and take them to long-term memory.
Okay.
Because during your everyday interaction, you have those short-term, you're picking up a lot of signals. And sometimes it's hard to tell which is important, what ties to what. But when you have had good sleep, then it allows you to organize that to what we call the long-term memory that will serve you over a long time. So that is one. Number 2, it helps the body to generate. So the brain uses 30% of the energy your body produces. Okay? So imagine a portion of food is supposed to give you energy. 30% of that is going to be used by your brain. So it is a very high functioning organ in the body. So the same way it uses that, it will have a lot of waste products, that require to be washed away. How is that washed away? Using the spinal fluid while you're asleep, because your heart rate goes down, and so a lot of energy is concentrated towards the brain and cleaning it out. It also allows your heart, to take some time and reorganize itself so that the production of hormones, healing itself can also take place. That's why if you get admitted in hospital, a lot of the time you get a bed, not a couch, not a tennis table, you will get a bed because you require to sleep in order for your body to heal.
Oh, wow. Can we take a break on that note? Because, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful when I hear you guys say, and all this. And I see the possibilities of that. So when we come back on the other side of the break, then we'd want to understand what are some of these insights that we can give people so that to saidiane, to lale, okay? Because sleep is very important. But even as we prepare for that, the question that we're asking you today is very simple. I really like this question. Is it really possible to function well on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night? Or is it just a myth fueled by toxic productivity culture? We're looking at your feedback on the other side of the break. To stay with us. The show is Your World. Welcome back. Let me tell you, the show continues even during the break, and very, very useful insights we're getting today right here on Wellness Wednesday. And it's all about beyond closed eyes. And we're looking at the power of sleep and your body's most underrated superpower, okay? My guest today is Dr. Wende Kimi, who's a sleep consultant. Ni daktari wa sleep ni nini? Sleep, daktari sleep, okay? And we also have Nancy Kabiru, who's a mental health psychologist, really helping us understand the importance of sleep and what sleep means and what quality sleep means and the different things that we do every single day that, you know, inatulete zimeshida, and that is why we're having this conversation today. And we also have this very simple question this morning, and that is it really possible to function well on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night? Or is it just a myth fueled by toxic productivity culture? Okay, is it really possible to function well on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep at night, or is it just a myth fueled by toxic productivity culture? What do you think? Give us a call. Our lines are open, and there you have it, the question of the day on your screen. All right, our lines are officially open. Yuzam, give us a call if you struggle with insomnia and you know all these beautiful things, beautiful quote unquote, because we have normalized it. We have normalized insomnia. And you look very cool when you say, you know me, I have insomnia. You look very cool, but really it's a disease. And, and Dr. Wende will help us really understand more on the same. So any question that you have as far as sleep is concerned, feel free to direct them our way. And that is our lines are officially opened. Use our WhatsApp number 0112 500 400, or better yet, use our social media handles, and that is at NTV Kenya and at Lubembe_Winnie. We'll direct all your questions to my guests today. So Nancy, you were talking about something, okay? Yeah. Before we went on a break, and how then do I know what is it that people come to you complaining about mostly, and do they know that it is linked with the fact that they're not sleeping well? Yes, and also the manifestations of the same.
Eventually, we psychoeducate them so they get to learn. The thing is, with sleep deprivation, it will cause you to have mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, even some psychotic onset or ADHD, right? And then it becomes a vicious cycle, because now you have this mental health disorder. Let me call it a disorder now because it is on a higher scale. You have a disorder, then it affects your sleep. And then your sleep affects your mental health, and so on and so forth. So we start with what is known and what is easy, what is within your control, even as you're coming to me as your therapist, right? What are the measures you're able to take place? So let me tell you today what you need to do. You need to ensure that your bed, you can associate your bedroom with sleep. So ensure there are no electronic gadgets that will trigger you to, you know, and give you those blue light, which will affect the melatonin production. What is melatonin? Melatonin is the hormone that allows you to sleep. So darkness allows the, you know, when the day goes, then melatonin starts being produced. So make sure your room is dark so that you can aid the production of melatonin. Then you can go through the sleep cycle, stage 1 and stage 2. You need to dream. There are dreams you will remember, there are dreams you will not remember. When you're asleep, remember you're reorganizing your brain, okay? Your experiences. When you reorganize, you have a clean slate to start on the next day. So your mood as well is more positive. When you don't have enough sleep, your mood becomes very irritable. So the experiences you have with people around you are not positive. They may not tell you, but they are not attracted to you. Someone who is able to have good enough sleep is very attractive, okay? We can even tell by taking pictures. If you take pictures of the day you've had enough sleep and the days you've not had enough sleep, you will find the days you've had enough sleep, you look actually more beautiful, all right? So you might not even need makeup, ladies, if you have had enough sleep, okay? Then hormone production within your body is aided by that, okay, by sleep. So we've seen darkness, we've seen that you don't have electronic equipment, then you have to have a sleep routine. Even if you're a mother and you have children, ensure that you're also teaching them this routine and you're taking part in it. I like to give a very good example. In case you're in a flight and the oxygen masks come down, you have to wear yours first before you give your children. So the same way, if you, you don't get enough sleep, even your children will not have the best experience of you. Okay? Because of your mood. And remember, there are some of those micro expressions. When a child is non-verbal, they cannot understand what you're saying. They will interpret what they are picking from you. That is why when you sleep, you're able to be more genuine and authentic. But when you don't sleep, you're not genuine and you're not authentic. The same goes to the hardworking fathers who have to go for business meetings and come home late. Your children's experience of you, if you ask them, will not be positive. They know you just as a provider, but they don't know of the interaction with you because your capacity is reduced. So similarly, ensure that you're also practicing the winding down technique. Teach your children, participate in it, okay? So we've seen light, we've seen gadgets, we've seen the routine, all right? Then the amount of time you eat before you sleep also matters, okay? So that digestion would have taken place. Now that one I'll give you as a homework. How much time do you need to have before you sleep? Eat before you sleep. Because we all have to participate in our well-being, okay? Then the association of the bedroom with the sleeping. And if you keep tossing and turning, please wake up, go do something else. All right? Check, yes, then sleep will kick in so because there will be that dissociation. Check the temperature of your bedroom. If it is hot, you know, when we have small children, we want to keep the room warm and hot. Imagine we are interfering with that child's sleep capacity, right? So the same goes for you. If your bedroom is hot, you will not have quality sleep. So also check on that and apply what is necessary. One of the things I do when I realize I'm not able to sleep, I love to wear socks in the house. But when I go to bed, I remove the socks, okay? So because I'm able to, then the body is able to, you know, take away all the heat it might have accumulated, and I'm able to cool down. So a cooler environment will allow you to sleep well.
Hey, watu wa kukula saa 4 usiku, hello? Bachelors. You were like,
plus also the substances like coffee, alcohol, you know, energy drinks before you sleep. They will affect, So remember you asked what happened to the brain. When you take caffeine, it will go and block the receptors that pick up the melatonin and all the communication that say go to sleep. They will block that. So you will be functional, but remember you put a block. So eventually with time you will have a burst, because imagine a pipe that is allowing water, then you block it, it will continue to bring in water and it will burst at some point, you know. Yes.
Or to a TikTok tap Saturday we can't sleep. It's like we have our gadgets, you know, with us. And this is I don't know who taught us this thing, that before you go to bed, you look at social media, what's happening on Instagram, what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Facebook, and then before you know it's like 2 a.m. because TikTok, okay? And we see people do this, and they're like, why am I on TikTok at 2 a.m.? Someone is responding to a text at 2 a.m. Like, you should be sleeping.
Well, it's exciting. It's the gadgets, it's the addiction, it's the production of dopamine. So we all get addicted to that because there is the quick pleasure that we are getting while we are observing this. You're getting pleasure at the cost of your health. Of your health. So your sleep gets affected, your health. You know, so it's like you're packing up to have hypertension. You're packing up to have diabetes. You're packing up to have obesity. You're packing up to have appetite challenges, because a sleep-deprived person has a bad relationship with food. Okay? And we see, like, when you go to boarding school, like when I went to boarding school personally, I gained weight, right? Because we had to wake up at 4. You know, you were sleeping at 10, 11, you know. So my relationship with food also came into play. Later on, I came to understand sleep and food relationship has a problem, right? And because you're depriving yourself, you will get a pacifier. Now your pacifier will be your drink, or it will be your food. But what is it packing you or pushing you towards later on? You will have to work 2 or 3 times as much to reduce the onset of certain illnesses. Yes.
Kai, like we're bringing all these things to ourselves. That sounds so bad, but it's this that we do it. But I'm happy that we're having this conversation. Can we talk about these disorders and how we make them seem very cool? You know, what you say, you know, me I have insomnia, you know, me I have this or that. But yet these are diseases that should be taken very seriously. Let's go through some of the sleep disorders that
I will tackle insomnia because I think it's my biggest specialty.
Yeah.
First, let's even define
what is
insomnia.
insomnia?
Right? Just because I didn't sleep 2 days does not mean I have insomnia, right? It takes maybe 2-3 weeks, 2 weeks, you can tell that you're heading to a very, very, very dangerous place. Okay. A month into it, 2 months, you really need to question what is going on with you. And we define that by saying, I have trouble sleeping and staying asleep. There's something that she's mentioned, that if you're unable to sleep, you need to get out of bed. Most people with insomnia will get out of bed and literally cannot go back to sleep. While everything she's mentioned might sound rosy, and you're thinking, for me it doesn't work, you know, like it cannot work, because I barely, like I'm taking 2 hours to get to bed. I will sleep for 2 hours, and at 2 a.m. I am alert, or I will use the washroom and I cannot go back to sleep until 6 a.m. I think it's time for you to question your sleep habits in general. Ask yourself what is going on. And that's now where people are like, hi, I need to, I need an appointment, so that now we can go through where did your sleep start, where did these issues start cropping in. Now, as a nation, we like the hashtag. Yes, we like the hashtag insomnia.
Yeah.
You know, tutalala mbinguni. Lakini mbinguni tutakuwa tunaimba.
Tunaimba.
Yes. So there's really no
time. Time to sleep is now.
Is now.
Yeah.
Right? So we've really glorified, the lack of sleep, because, we are, of course, like we're saying, we're chasing the economy, we're chasing money, but you see, it is at the expense of our bodies.
Yeah.
And which brings me now to that question that you've said, like 4 to 5 hours of sleep is not sustainable. For now, you will say, I'm feeling okay, right? 3 weeks from now, and most people start complaining, it's just that you just walk around just feeling, quote, quote, okay. 4 to 5 hours, you'll start saying, hey, I feel a certain way. You're snapping, you can't tell, like you can't put a pin on, like this is the actual issue. Everybody will not put it on sleep. You'll put it on your work, you'll put it on the hustle,
the traffic,
traffic,
to a border,
the economy, the lack of money, your children, everything, everything else will be the reason why, but it is not you intentionally saying, I actually have not been sleeping. I kind of need to step back and fix, and fix my issue. But on that note, one of the things that I wanted to add to your, your very routine is physical activity. The one thing that I actually feel that this year, a lot of people are actually taking physical activity really seriously, right? But as we take physical activity seriously, we need to also factor in our sleep, right? As much as you're having physical activity, we're all on desks and computers, but we want to work through the night. Right? You can have gone to the gym, you've eaten well, you've eaten on time, but you're burning the midnight oil and hoping at some point you will crash out. And then in the morning, what is the first thing you do? You coffee, and coffee is your friend. In the morning.
And we've also glorified coffee. Like if someone says, baby, I take coffee, like this is my 3rd cup of coffee today, you feel so but no.
You'll crash out by midday or even by 2. Right?
And then you need more. And then you need more.
So what does that do? That's, you just, like you said, you're packing up.
Yeah.
You keep packing up. And then now when things now have gone completely to the dogs, now you're like, I need to rewire myself. Yeah. And this is where now everybody doesn't want to do the work. She must agree with me that this one is where we don't want to do the work. We want the easy way out. But we don't want to take the steps to undo what we've already done. Now that is where now I think we will both agree that in our career that the steps to get you out of your lack of sleep into the line that is proper sleep, that's where the challenge always is. Yes.
Yeah. So you're talking about insomnia and just helping people really understand insomnia. How do I even know that I have what's the insomnia that we talk about to Kukwa streets, but the insomnia that you diagnose, say, we've got insomnia. What does it look like?
We talk about people who barely even get any sleep.
Okay.
They will probably complain, I only get to sleep for 2 hours a night.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Or they will say, I will sleep between maybe 10 and 12 and I can't sleep until 6 a.m. in the morning.
Is this ya kujitakia in the sense of the habits that we do? Or this person genuinely wants to sleep, but they can't?
Remember, there are factors, there are other factors. There's the genuine one where, honestly, I cannot sleep. But remember, for you not to sleep, there are other predisposing factors to sleep, right? There's stress, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's sickness. there is motherhood, there is parenting. So all this financial crisis, there's so many things that go on within, let's say, Wende myself. All these things could be a factor as to why I'm not sleeping, right?
It's also stress.
And stress.
You can say how well you're able to manage and deal with your stress.
Yeah.
Because if you've not dealt with your stress well, your brain will remind you there's an unfinished business. And you find yourself awake. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe just to add on you, when we look at a mental health condition, if a condition has persisted for more than 2 weeks, then it is an ailment, isn't it?
Yes.
So similarly, if you have not slept enough, they say, even when, and these are studies done by Harvard, by World Health Organization, if you have if you put a rat awake for 4 days, it will die. Okay? The same goes for us humans. If you keep constantly not having sleep, those who suffer with insomnia, later on in their 40s, in their 50s, in their midlife, they will have that gene attachment mutation, which will make them to have lack of sleep. But then they cannot survive how many years? They cannot survive. They can't continue being alive for more than 5 years, you know, because of sleep issues. And that being a mutation onto your genes. Stress alters your genes. Anytime you go through stress, your genes change. They do not remain constant. Okay?
Okay.
So the idea here is you have the ability to sense when you've not had enough sleep, and you need to adopt healthy
sleep habits.
Sleep habits, so that you can function well. You want to function, not quick functioning, but function well over a long time. Be productive, you know, well, and be productive over a long period.
Not just that one day. They were like, today, you know. I was like, me yesterday, I slept for 7 hours, and I wake up tired.
You know, when we were on the break, there's a discussion we had, and one of the things besides insomnia that people would go to you would be because they have had
sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea. And people who have sleep apnea will check a positive check on high blood pressure. Okay? So you've already acquired two conditions. Right? Then when it comes to psychological issues, you will check anxiety or you will check depression. Okay? Then you will have addiction issues. That's 4 conditions. Okay? Then you will have insulin resistance. So you have 5 conditions. Okay? Now, a quick thing, we also need to be careful. There are people who are diagnosed with asthma, okay? And we need to learn asthma management, because if you don't learn that, it will equally affect your sleep, which will then give you all these other conditions. And sometimes we as medics or people in the medical field will be wondering, what should we start with, right? Because you have all these presenting issues. You're being given steroid for your high blood pressure, but steroid is not good for sleep. You understand? You will go buy melatonin off the shelf. Melatonin cannot work on its own. And your body produces biologically, it produces melatonin. So you're suppressing the body's ability to produce melatonin. So you will then have what we call insomnia. When you've taken alcohol, for example, you cannot have a complete sleep cycle. Okay? So you will go through stage 1 and part of stage 2, before the body regenerates, you're
already up.
Okay? And again, you then groggy back, sleep. You're afraid because you were starting to dream well. You start being afraid. And you cannot then have quality sleep. So you see, all these web of situations lead to a bad quality life, all that you have set on yourself.
Let me tell you, apnea. Okay, we'll talk about sleep apnea in a second, and all these other sleep disorders that are there, so that people really know that that small habits, the phone, ama TVs. We have TVs in our bedrooms today. We look very bougie. You know, we have TVs everywhere, but that's a problem in itself. We'll talk about that. So we have someone who, this is on, they were following, I think, on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. This is Polly Osogo, who says, I have not slept since April 14th when my quiet storm, Baba Orada, passed away. How can I cope, please? They can't sleep due to the death of their loved one. How do they cope?
This is now where we say both of us, we do what you call multidisciplinary.
Okay.
He needs to handle and, you know, and deal with the grief.
Okay.
And then now sleep is, we both manage him in the same aspect. So the reasons also he may not be sleeping is how he's handling grief and everything. So that is now her part.
Yeah.
And then now after that,
Well,
now we will deal with the
I would
sleep.
like to invite you for therapy assessment, which is important. Everybody needs to take that at least twice a year, even if you're functioning. Now for you, I sympathize and my condolences because of the loss. And when we think of a loved one, the impact or the role they played in your life, the manner in which they died can leave you in a state of trauma. Okay? So if you're in a state of trauma, you will be afraid or fearful of sleeping because you associate sleep with death. Okay? So this person can be afraid of death, or they could be, you know, not able to allow themselves to sleep because they feel they will be doing themselves a disservice. But staying awake, you know, all that time is not helpful. I'm sure there are instances that you doze off and then you feel guilty because you're not present enough. So it is affecting your relationship, your productivity, and even your perception of yourself. There is no good death and bad death. All death is death. And we have to make peace with it and understand that it is the cycle of life. And I know this might not be a solution immediately, but it is a journey we need to go through, okay? When one has been stuck in a state of grief, then we say they're in a complicated grief process, which means there are other factors besides that loss, that one loss. Because that loss is what we are seeing on the surface. Underneath, there's a lot more that you probably need to work on. And that's for you and for anybody else who could have challenges with that. The good news is it is possible to regain your functionality and also enjoy life, right? When you put in the measures. Sometimes we get stuck in this state or in these conditions because we don't know that there are solutions that lie. And as she said, I will help you with your mental health, your behavior, your cognitive, you know, understanding for you to make resolve of that. She will give you insight on how best to learn again how to sleep and what we would consider safe. I'm sure you have even gadgets that can help somebody know that you have slept a whole cycle 3 or 4 times, you know. And with a day of sleep does not get rid of the accumulated, but you need a continuous habit and behavior, which is what now we would hold your hand and support you to getting there.
I like that. Multidisciplinary approach. I really like that. Okay, so let me go through the feedback on the question that we asked this morning, and that is it really possible to function well on only 45 hours of sleep a night, or is it just a myth fueled by toxic productivity culture? Let me start with this one who say it's possible, okay? So Raz Titus Mandia Johanna, this is on Facebook, says, possible. Wahoo Karanja says, good topic. What is sleep paralysis? Do you want to answer that very quickly? It's a long topic.
It is a very gray area.
Okay.
It is a very gray area.
All right.
But I think it's because we don't have as much research that is happening
on sleep paralysis.
Sleep. And being African as we are, we know the direction we take this. So there is no much research that has been done that would say that yes, it is a medical condition, or other people will say it's spiritual. Or So there is it's a very gray area. But
do we know what it is, like the term itself? Still.
No, a lot of people say that sleep paralysis is when they feel like they haven't had an outer body experience. You're asleep, but you tend to be out of your own body, and you cannot actually remember. It is very scary. But that, I think, we need to do a lot of sleep research in this country.
On the same.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So hold that. Oh no, put a pin.
Put a pin on
Tutakuja to Kishapata research. Okay, just 2 more, and then we go on a break, and then we'll come back and read more. So is it silent or classic or silent or classic? Says yeah, it's possible. Even 3 hours. Yani we are so even 3 hours is possible. And then. Dave Makotieno says, "See, mnasemanga rich people never sleep." That the myth that we talked about earlier on. Yes. And then Kevon Diragu says, myth, 2 days kosa usingizi, siku ya tatu uta shut down. Si tafadhali. Yeah, amesema si tafadhali. I'm not going to finish what he said later on, okay? But keep sending them on our way. That is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie. Do you want to call in live? We have experts, very, very insightful, insights that they are giving us this morning. So if you have a direct question to them, again, it's our lines that are officially opened, and we'll go through your feedback, more of them on the other side of the break. Do stay with us. The show is Your World. All right, welcome back to the show. We literally have a few minutes. I feel like in this case, because I feel when you're live, it's like 40 minutes, okay, before we say goodbye. But there's a question here, and this is from our on Facebook Live. Someone is asking, just allow me 1 sec to get to that question. It's about pregnancy and how they were not able to sleep, and is it right or not? Yes, so Sophie Kimani says, when I was pregnant with my firstborn, I could not sleep the whole night. But when it reaches 6 a.m., I start to feel sleepy, and I found myself sleeping almost from 6 a.m. till 4 p.m. Is that bad? Pregnancy is just, I equate pregnancy to just being a sick person. There's so much that happens during that period of time. All right. I believe that she got out of it. Yeah. But yes, a lot of pregnant women tend to lack sleep, especially during the 3rd trimester. Okay. They're not able to fall asleep. All right. But one of the measures that they should take is please get some rest. During pregnancy, I don't think it's about the order of how well you sleep at night, but at least your body is actually getting rest. Because I find when I tell moms go to bed, somebody will be like, I have been looking up, my baby has been kicking, I've been feeling a certain way. So there's so much that is going on during that period of time. Try and get as much rest as possible. Keyword here, try and get as much rest. I've not said go shopping, I've just said try and get as much rest because that's the time you want rest to is not you on your phone. You know, it is not you on your phone. It is, like she said, darken your room, quietness, get some rest. Yeah. That is the most important part of it. Okay. If you've gotten some rest, you will be able to survive a lot of things. All right. Yes. I see that. Now, this is the question. I don't know whether it's a question or not. Maxwell Ocholi Richard, again, still watching live on Facebook, says, my wife sleeps when her eyes are 10% open, but she's in a deep sleep. And I'm pretty sure we've seen these people. Yes. And sometimes it can be quite scary when someone is asleep and part of their eyes are open. What is that? Like, is that normal? Is that... Yes. No? It's normal? Yes, it's called rapid eye movement. Okay. And that is usually in the deepest part of your sleep. Okay. Because your brain is active. Yeah. Right? So similarly, we have this physical function. There are people who jerk also, you know. So it's normal. All right. Nothing to be scared of. Okay. It's just that they are able to get to that deep sleep state. Yeah. And that's the most important part. And forget these other things. Is sleep. Okay. So there was a question here on the responding to the question that we're asking today, and this person says, what when you say they're not a morning person, now wanamka all moody in the mornings, is it that they do not have enough sleep? Amani believe to. You know, those people say, you know, I'm not a morning person, they're moody and all those things. Is it that how jalala vizuri ama? Actually, it is not a myth. We have different sleep habits. Yes. Right? Yeah. There are people who are morning people and there are people who call night owls. Yeah. Right? Yeah. However, since sleep is not linear to all of us, we need to be able to understand our own individual sleep. Okay. There are people generally who are not morning. I'm one of them. Yeah. I am not a morning person. Not a morning person at all. But the most important thing is to make sure that you're getting your hours of sleep. As much as we say 7 to 9 hours, please remember 7 to 9 hours is a guideline. There are people who would do very well with 6 hours and the others would do very well with 7 hours. Okay. I personally cannot do well without 8 hours. I feel like I am
you know, I am jittery throughout the day. So it's a really, sleep is really, really personal, right? So you need to have the intention to know that if, for example, I can go to bed at 9, and then I will be up, at 5 a.m. and I'll be okay. But somebody else will go to bed at 8, and everybody, I mean, we're Kenyans, unalala mapema kwa nini? Right? This person, I think, already is aware that if I don't get to sleep between 8 a.m. and wake up at 5:30, I will not be a very functional person. So yes, it is, we are all different in our sleep rhythms.
Okay, I see that. Someone here says, hey, no, they say food, shelter, clothing. It's just getting peer pressure that I don't take because I've got 4 kilograms of maize flour, half a kg of wimpy flour. I am free to sleep for 13 days. Bila komka. Wait, what?
It is the joke behind it.
Right? Someone else here says, this is William Okach, says, for most people, it's a myth fueled by a toxic productivity culture. Minimal sleep can lead to decreased productivity in the long run, which is true, what we've talked about. And then this is Fiona? Hey, the second name is, I'm not even going to attempt because I will butcher it, I'm sure. Says, I lived on 1 to 2 hours of sleep each night for over 10 years and I survived. Can we just respond to that? 1 or 2 hours for scary. 10 years?
It's scary.
It is very scary. But I would like to challenge her.
Okay.
How did she survive? How did you survive? Because as much as, like I said, you say you're fine, but at some point, something gave in. That is the one thing that most people don't want to talk about. You say you're fine, but you must have a reason why. Or there must be something behind the 1 or 2 hours that you had to deal with that made you get there. And it cannot be for 10 years. There must have been at some point where your body gave in. You must have been hospitalized, must have been on medication at some point. Something gave in. And that's why I'm saying we keep glorifying the, you know, the sleep. The body is not, it's not made of steel. Other organs in your body still need to function. So you do that for 10 years. 10 years.
Your body will remind you who's the boss.
Which reminds me of a quote I really love. You would die faster from sleep deprivation than the lack of food.
Say that again. You will
die faster from sleep deprivation than the lack of food.
Food for thought. Think about that for a second. Okay, think about that for a second. Nancy, you wanted to say something?
Yes, maybe I just wanted to bring this home because, yes, we hear you. But in terms of biological makeup, that is not possible because the way we are wired as human beings, there's an order to things, and sleep adds to that order. And if you don't follow the order of sleep, it means you're going to break down. Okay? The same way you cannot drive your vehicle from Kenya to Cairo without a stop. Okay? You will need to stop to fuel. You will need to stop to change the tire. You will need to stop to allow it to cool. Your body requires the same. So it's a big disservice to yourself if you don't get, and when we say adequate sleep, we are talking of 7 to 9 hours. Anything below that is not adequate. Okay?
All right.
So you just need to do a check. If you sleep less than that, remember the condition I was looking for is Alzheimer's. And it is on the rise. Okay? You will find a lot of people developing Alzheimer's earlier onset of it because they overworked. You know, they didn't allow their brains to rest. The toxins that are produced when your brain is working accumulates and leads to you having this condition. So whereas you worked hard or you were productive, who was it for at the end of the day? You know, you need to enjoy the fruits of your labor while you're laboring.
I see.
Not later.
Not later. How early are we talking about when you're talking about Alzheimer's? Like how early onset are we saying? Because we used to see this in like older
in the 80s,
people,
90s,
like 80s,
but now we are having people even in their 50s, in their 40s, developing this.
No way.
Yes. And even when you look at the reproductive hormones, they are affected by sleep.
That's why we have very early onset menopause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
talked about menopause a few episodes ago, and
Yes.
yeah.
That's for women, and even for men, in terms of testosterone,
Yeah.
they have lower levels when they have less sleep. And maybe when people say the rich don't sleep, the rich also have fewer children.
Oh, that's a good caveat. Oh, we were not prepared for that.
we're not prepared for that.
Because
Yeah.
they don't sleep, they don't have enough stock.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you're going for fertility clinics, you also have to be able to put up a good sleep routine in order to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hey, let me tell you, points on points on points. Okay, can we, so does sleep then change as we age? And I think this is where then we bring in the whole aspect from children all the way to adulthood, okay? And how sleep looks like for, I don't want to say each stage, but each stage.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try and... So children, 0 to, let me say until teens first.
Okay.
Basically, they need 10 to 11 hours of sleep,
Okay.
right?
10 to 11
hours night sleep.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Not
But
the naps in between.
No, I'm talking about just night sleep.
Okay.
10 to 11 hours. As they grow older, of course, there's the changes in the teenagers. We'd be talking about maybe 9 to 10 hours,
Yes.
Okay.
right? And 9 to 10 hours, again, goes and goes. By the time you're an adult, in your 20s, at least now we are talking about 7 to 9.
7 to
Actually, from 25, I should say from 25.
Okay.
7 to 9 hours. And that goes across even to your mom, to your grandpa. But again, other predisposing factors, disease, etc., could also change that. But yes,
it changes.
Yes, it does.
So when you talk about children and the, you said what, 10 to 11,
10 to 11 hours, yes.
of sleep, what exactly does that do to the brain, the development, general well-being? And is that even possible? Because we see people who say, like anamka like several times, in a night. So what is that? Is that normal? Is that not?
We'll start with the word expectation versus reality.
Oh, yeah,
of
that
the expectation versus reality of what we want versus what is actually there, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is possible to get 10 to 11 hours of sleep, right? Okay. But the child in front of you, how old is this child? Are we talking about a teenager? Are we talking about an 8-month-old, a 1-year-old, right? We do expect that, yes, some children will wake up at night during a certain duration of time, right? But at least I would say at some point, I don't want to use my own data, but the data I've used that there are children that have gotten to sleep at least from even 4 months upwards, because it is a journey. Remember that. Even for us, it is a journey to get from point A to point B. Now, mothers also, because of reading a lot, we want this glamorous, life.
Yes.
We've gone to the internet, and the internet gives you this perfect child. The perfect child that does not cry, or does not refuse to eat, or does not throw tantrums. So we have this big benchmark that has been set, that yes, my baby can sleep this way. But then the reality on the ground is you have no control, you have no schedule, you don't know when they're eating, they've not done homework, so you are generally disorganized. So it boils down to, what schedule is it that you're running in your house?
Yeah.
Right?
It's so weird because we see like in movies, and even like those who watch like you.
Professional, hospitals, anybody who does prenatal, postnatal care, the one thing that we need to do is educate parents about sleep. Okay. Right? Okay. As much as you're saying yes, at reading books, it is because we are so tired. Everything else is just a bonus, right? So you don't want to have a wind down, you're generally screaming. And I think there's one meme I once read. Please tell me a mother who does not shout in the morning. I do not. I try. But do you know why? It's because you're barely getting any sleep. Once you get sleep, you are so centered. You know that my children have an order. We wake up in the morning, people are brushing their teeth, they know what to do. They will sit down, we will leave, right? But if you wake up in the morning with, I'm Kenny, there's running. And then remember, like you said, the babies have gone to bed. But you're just scrolling through the night. So you don't get sleep. So in the morning, you're more frustrated. Tell me how that will not trickle down to the children. It will. Right?
It will.
But then you will not see it until you are breaking down.
Oh, I see.
And then now we have to undo and deal with you first, so that you can be able to also help the children too. So 10 to 11 hours is actually possible. Okay, it's possible. How does it contribute to the general well-being, the brain development? Because they're still growing, right?
Well, you'll find that children who sleep enough and adequately will have the right body weight. They will be growing, they'll make their developmental milestones well and on time, and sometimes even some surprise us and do it before time, right? Yeah. And you'll find that their interaction, their ability to pick up cues is very positive. They are pleasant children to be with and around, okay? But those who have sleep issues, then all those things I've mentioned now on the opposite are usually on the opposite. So low weight gain, poor appetite, irritability. They will have acquire immune challenges. So opportunistic illnesses will be, you will be every other time in the hospital because this child is not having adequate sleep. Now, a child needs to have continuous sleep even when they are an infant, and at least you'll be taught, as she mentioned. And when you find that there's interference with that, probably it's because they've not fed, they're not well fed. Maybe they are not the temperature. There's an issue with that, or they are wet, okay? Or they are communicating certain irritation. Now, for you as a parent, it's your job to ensure that you have the right support around you. There is no trophy that you will acquire because you stayed there the whole time watching the child. You know, whereas you had, you know, the neighbors, you had your sisters, you had your brothers, you had other family members, or even people we hire, nannies who can help you so that you get your sleep in order for you to make the right connection with the child. So remember, I talked about the micro expressions, and then there's also the mirror neurons. The stress levels of the parent are equally transferred to the child. So now the child amplifies it because they have no control. They will amplify that by crying and being irritable and getting sick because, you know, they're pointing out that there's something wrong. And that puts you and the child in survival mode. Now, when you're in survival mode, you become hyper alert and completely anxious. All right. Now, as a mother, we are not advised to take, you know, coffee or chemicals because if you're breastfeeding, it will affect the brain of the child. So we see the brain development being affected by the quality of sleep and also by the substances that maybe the mother is taking. The brain fully forms by the time you're 25, 27 years. So that's why she said at 25, then the sleep cycle also changes. Now, there is the cognitive function of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which takes time. You will fully acquire it by the time you're 25. Teenagers are irrational because that has not fully formed. But the emotional bit, the amygdala, is usually there. And it is, you're training the amygdala to pick the positive emotions and the negative emotions. So if you make your world all about negativity, this person will continue repeating cycles of negativity even when they are grown, because that is what is normal to them. It keeps them on hyper alert mode. So they become addicted, or they have more production of the hormone that gives the quick fix, but does not last long. So that's where their organs get affected. Their body is, they retain a lot of water, and they will complain of headaches, they'll complain of migraines. She talked of reproductive health will be an issue, or because maybe from when you were young, you were not trained on sleep, which affected how you interpret emotions, which affects how you present yourself in the world. You get? I don't know if you've ever come across somebody who is smiling, but they are not actually. You're like, that's a fake smile. That's a fake smile, you know, because to them, that's just how they face the world. So they have to unlearn, So the emotional part responsible for interpreting emotions in your brain gets affected by your lack of sleep, or your quality of sleep allows you to have capacity to interpret this. You get?
Let me tell you, like, I'm learning all these things. And like, in my head, I'm just imagining a world where people had good quality sleep, adequate sleep. Like, what world will that look like?
Very good.
Right?
Interesting. Let me, because we are Africans.
Yeah.
If we look at our traditional culture, when children were going to sleep, the grandparents told them stories.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Or even a baby, instinctively as a mother, you lull the baby to sleep. Okay?
Yeah.
So you're helping them wind down.
Yeah.
So you create that world for them.
Yeah.
But for yourself,
Is where you draw the line.
Yeah, where you drew the line, you
Yes,
know.
you're like, I don't have time.
I don't have time.
Yeah, you cannot say you don't have time to show up for yourself in the best way possible. You have to create that relationship with yourself first. Okay? So we might resist it because it's something that is not ordinary or normal, but it is helpful.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Can we talk about those people who have screens in their bedrooms?
There's something she mentioned about your environment. Your bed needs to just be for the purpose of sleep.
Okay.
And having a screen is a deterrent to your sleep. Like you said, it's fancy just in the room, but it is not helpful for your sleep. Because immediately you wake up, the first thing you do is like, let me keep myself busy. Then literally, it's already morning before you actually get some sleep. TVs do not belong in the bedroom. It is as simple as that.
Yeah.
They should not be in the bedroom.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so,
Hey, I'm coughing because those people, TVs in the bedroom.
Now,
Don't do it.
there's something I always do. I tell people, as you're going to bed, also put your phone to sleep.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And it should not sleep next to you,
Should be
not
across
under
the
your
room.
pillow. It
Across
should
the
be
room.
far.
Across
The same way when your baby,
Alarm
grows,
utas-
you won't let them sleep in your room for long.
Yes.
Also have the same culture with your phone. Put it away from you. And if you can't take it to the other room, put it in the drawer.
Somewhere across the room.
Somewhere far.
Yeah.
And also, let your phone be in a state that if I am looking for you, I'm not going to interfere with your sleep.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Because you have to train your environment on the new habits that you're getting. If you struggle with sleep, you also struggle with boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you talk about boundaries? Were we talking about this during break?
yes,
Yeah. Can you talk about the boundaries when it comes to self and sleep and the people around us?
Right.
Yeah.
Boundaries should serve you as a person to have quality and manageable life, right? They should not be too rigid. There are some that are supposed to be rigid. There are some that are supposed to be flexible, and there are some that are supposed to be porous.
Okay.
But when it comes to your sleep, it is a non-negotiable. So if you take on tasks that steal time from your sleep, you're not respecting your own boundaries. And you're also encouraging your support system or the people around you to step over your boundaries because you take on tasks. Like I'll give an example. In the office, maybe you're chasing confirmation, you're chasing promotion. You're not very efficient with work, but you keep on taking more. What happens? You're not able to deliver as well as if you were rested, okay? But, people will know if you need to dump work, go give somebody, go give this person because they'll take it up. I know they're looking up. It shows your vulnerability in a sense. Now, if it is about, say, entertainment, there are people who party Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're partying all the way till 1 a.m. Are you respecting your boundaries, the importance of sleep, okay, and the routine that you have set? Because when you set a routine, it is a goal, it is a habit, so you have to honor it. When you honor it, you will reap the benefits of it with time. If you don't honor it, you will always be on recovery mode.
Yeah.
So if you come and you're having struggles with sleep, we equally have to check how is your relationship with yourself and your boundaries. Very important.
Hey, I like that. Now, when it comes to disorders, so we talked about insomnia, apnea, any other disorder that we're missing out before we go on a break?
We'd talk about restless legs. Yes. So a lot of people feel some certain tingling. But most of these disorders may not, I would say in Kenya we've not done as much research on them. So you will find nobody has any data to bring forward and say, yes, this is what exactly is happening. But yes, sleep apnea, which is, I think, most adult males complain about. There's a lot of snoring. If your partner, the bed partner keeps complaining you're snoring, then it is time to first ask whether, or see a sleep specialist.
Should people, first of all, like, is it normal? Snoring, is it normal?
No, part of it, yes, we can snore a bit, but most people with sleep apnea tend to lose their breath. You know, like you snore, but then you, how do I say it in Kiswahili? Unashtuka unaamka. You know, I didn't want to say. So, and then you do it for a very, very prolonged period. But like she said, by the time you get sleep apnea, you've gone through 5-6 diseases for you to actually get the basic sleep hygiene. It's just the base foundation of everything else.
And we've also seen kids, you know, who snore completely. And they're like, is it normal? Is it not?
It's an obstruction. It's an obstruction to your airwave. So the apnea is caused by that obstruction. It can be because of inflammation. And that way we looked at the weight gain, the cholesterol level and all that. So it's not healthy because your body does not get the required level or amount of oxygen. So the energy level for this person who has apnea when they are during the day is very low. Because the brain didn't get, and remember, what is the fuel? What allows the body to burn or to create fuel? You have to have oxygen. And as much as oxygen is free, if you're not, when you're sleeping, you're not getting adequate, then you're also not cleaning your body as well. So that would be the apnea. And they would then be given there's an oxygen machine, which would help with that, and there are other remedies that are out there.
I see. Okay, let me go through a few of the comments here and there. So someone says, this is Joanne Mambue, who says, for me, no. I'll be like a zombie throughout the day and not perform my tasks adequately. But for some people, it works for them. All right. And then someone here says, this is the observer who says, I think 4 to 5 hours of sleep is inadequate. I'm happy that this person says inadequate. And then continue to say, ask me, I know. You want to be able to function at full throttle. And then Ezra Muni says, scientifically, it's not preferable. This will distort something we call circadian rhythm. It deals with sleep-wake cycle by production of a hormone called melatonin, so that when you have not slept well, the hormone accumulates in your body until you get enough sleep. Preferably, we should sleep 8 to 7 hours, 7 to 8 hours for us to function optimally. And then another person says, if you sleep for 4 hours at night, wake up, have another 3 to 4 hours session midday. Does it count?
No. Naps are not recommended. You will still distort your circadian rhythm. Right? However, and I use this term very loosely.
Cautious.
However, for some people, depending on the kind of work you do, you're allowed what we call a micro nap. What we call a siesta. But you see, a siesta is not more than 30 minutes, right? And also, there's a certain time that it should not go past, so that you can be able to also accumulate sleep pressure for you to get to sleep through the night. Because I know that a lot of people like, oh, I eat lunch and I'm not able to function.
I did siesta.
Now it puts into question, ideally, your general quality of sleep.
Okay, I like that. Can we go on a break? And then when we come back, you talked about gadgets. You said, right? So we'll talk about the gadgets that are there to help us sleep. I've had some people play, you know, like natural sounds, waves, rains, you know, does it help, you know, in one way or the other? And is it sustainable? Because we're using our gadgets to play those goodies, you know? So do they help, all right? And we'll also look at the long-term benefits, because we highlighted the risks of not sleeping well, okay? So we'll also look at the long-term benefits when it comes to good quality, adequate sleep. All that is coming up after the break. Just stay with us. The show is Your World.
On May 31st, we roar and...
All right, welcome back. We are in the last few minutes of the show. So, please send it haraka before we say goodbye, okay? On this very important topic, and that is as far as sleep and what adequate means and what good quality sleep actually means. Should we just go over it, just in case people tuned inside, they're like, oh, sleep. What exactly does good quality and adequate sleep mean? Very quickly, and then I go through some of these comments.
Quality sleep.
Yeah.
It should wake up in the morning feeling great.
Okay. Not tired.
Not tired.
Not moody.
You should not be feeling tired. Quality or the quality of your sleep is going to determine how you feel throughout the day and whatever activities that you are actually doing. Sufficient means you're either sleeping between 8 to 9 hours, 7 for those who can. Okay. Not everybody fits into that bracket, but nothing below 7 hours.
Where do majority people fit?
Majority of the people fit between 7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I wanted to hear you say 5.
No,
like your bad manners. You know the one that we're talking about. The one that we're talking about. 5, 4. Remember that person who said 3?
In 2 hours. You cannot sustain you cannot sustain 48 hours of sleeping like that. Your body is going to break down.
Can we talk to the moms? Okay, because again, like I said when we started the show, when I was coming in and told the people what we're talking about, two of my colleagues were like, please, sisi moms, munatuweka wapi? Because we survive on 2 hours or 3 hours of sleep. But you said, listen, intentionality is what Dr. Wende said. And you said you can develop a routine where you and your baby actually get adequate sleep. Please speak to them, to the moms. There is a place for them.
Right. We respond to the need of others with more care and more affection than we do to our own needs. So for mothers out there, study your child, understand how they sleep, and ensure you're also able to sleep that way. Seek to have people around you. Even there's some support that will not cost you. There are friends of yours who would be happy to come and sit in to allow you get the rest. Mom care is very, very important, because if you don't, you will come to me with postpartum depression, okay? And some of the trigger of postpartum depression, we say it's stress, a drastic change that you are not expecting. Definitely, the behavior or how the child comes into the world is unexpected, even if you read how many books, because you're the one who will experience that. It will be different for you. So it's important for you to have support. And then also say no to toxic relationship or environment around you when you require to help this individual to survive, okay? So you cannot be at service to somebody who comes at midnight 1, whereas you are also at service to an infant the whole day. There has to be an agreement and an understanding. During this time, we are going to be this way. And if we go back to our culture, when a woman got a child, they were allowed to live with their parents until that child got good health. Now, in this case, if you cannot have your family with you or go back to your family, have somebody come in and give you that support. That was to ensure that that child has survival and you as well are able to continue producing more. That's traditional knowledge. We have modern knowledge with proper research that shows the effect of lack of sleep. So yes, I know you might need to keep your job, to be productive, negotiate on terms at work so that your health is not risked. There are people who are very intelligent, very smart and productive, but because they neglect their sleep and their body's recovery, they end up not keeping a job that they've worked. You've gone to school, you've studied, you've dedicated your life to that. You've worked, but you lose that because you could not be coherent or clear in your reasoning, in your relationship, in delivering because of sleep, okay? So sleep is not something that you can put a patch on and say, hey, I've fixed you, we will meet you later. It will keep demanding, And, even when you look at people with depression, they may not have enough, they may not want to sleep, but they feel tired because their body says, I need to recover. okay?
Yeah.
So if you go through those instances where you feel just tired, the first stop is to check how well you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Could I add to that?
Yes.
I want to add to that. My biggest clientele is children
Okay.
and moms.
Specific age group?
0 to upwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think anybody who follows me on Instagram, I am pro baby sleep. You are the first person. You are raising a generation of people that need to learn to sleep well.
Yeah.
And like she said, self-care is very important, right?
Yes.
And I do a lot of content on children and sleep. We talk about when they should sleep. How do you identify that they are tired?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of books, articles, you all read. You will give me your opinion
Yes.
on, you know, I did this, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Sleep deprivation is not a badge of honor. Just because you went and survived with your baby does not mean that I survived with my own baby, right? And for mothers, I will say this, please, if you know that you're waking up every single morning and you're thinking, this cannot be my life, you are tired, you're irritable, you are just on the verge of just leaving your house, or moms who are going back to work and they're thinking, I cannot be going back to work and this baby is not sleeping.
Yeah.
Who are you going to leave this child with? Your secondary caregiver may not even function. You'll come home to aki sikuweza kufanya.
Yeah.
Why? Because they've spent the whole day. So for me, I believe that you can get a semblance of order. It's something you asked about.
Yeah.
Can you get 10 to 11 hours? Imagine you can. It's just very intentional. You need to take the steps that we do together so that you can be able to get the best sleep.
I like that. Now, so for and especially for, because you see, and especially when they're young, like 0 to say around 3-4 months, they cry at everything. So you don't know, are they hungry? Are they tired? Is the diaper full?
No, it's communication.
Yeah. So how do you know? Like this baby, Jalala.
It's communication.
Yeah.
The child cry will not be the same in every instance.
In every instance.
There is a different cry to say I'm hungry. There's a different cry to say I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
There's a different cry to say I'm uncomfortable. There's a different cry to say I am uncomfortable.
Yes. You're able to tell?
Yes. All these things, all these, you learn. You learn your child, and the only way to be able to interpret that is when you're at your optimum. Okay. When your brain is not stressed, you'll be able to pick. But when your brain is stressed, the same way we said you'll make simple mistakes, you will equally miss out on a lot of information because you're tired. Okay? And this is just not to even the moms. Anybody who is supporting this mom is a caregiver. They equally need to ensure that they have enough and adequate sleep so you can have routines or working shifts so that you can be productive. Sometimes there are people who are a bit insensitive, maybe due to lack of knowledge. If you find that job is not done, but the child is fine, you focus more on the work that wasn't done than the fact that the child is okay, right? So you leave that person with negative emotions because you had negative emotions, remember? And they will not be the best person to support you in raising that child. Even if they desperately have to keep their job, they don't pass on, you know, good energy to this child. So we all, you know, the back equally has to stop with you as an individual, the decision you're making, and the routines you adopt. How comes we follow? You report to work at 8, we leave at 5. You follow that, but you cannot set up one for yourself. You know? And that show you want to watch and laugh and relax is costing you more than what the benefits of sleep.
So then, so to remember we said the reality versus right. So and for most families, and especially when it comes to like dinner and whatnot, well, class are done. I think then we immediately go to bed. Okay, it's just like how what? So then help us in terms of these habits. Okay, I know you talked about bedroom, gadgets, all those things. But can we talk about, so ideally, tukule dinner sangapi? Tufanye nini before tulale, you know?
Well,
to at least help. Because
there are different studies, There are different studies, but at least eat an hour before you go to bed, right?
Yeah.
And we say even for children, ensure they don't take fluids 1 hour to bedtime. Okay. These are children who are like 3-4 years old, because if they do that, you'll have bedwetting issues. Yeah. So similarly for you, eat an hour before to allow the body to have already started digesting, and also understand your food, because there are food that take long to digest, like proteins. Okay? So if you're eating proteins during dinner time, even if you sleep after 1 hour, it's still, the digestion continues, right? So the blood flow focuses more on the stomach, where there's already a job going on, than now cleaning the chemicals that have accumulated that are toxic in your brain. Okay. Right? So let's watch our portions. Let's watch the quality of food. And it's important to have this knowledge. You know? Have this knowledge, share with people, get insight, so that you make better choices and you're informed.
You know, but you know how you both said the multidisciplinary approach. Yes. Okay. I feel like nutritionist is also important to that help us understand, because we're told so eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a what? And then the dinner like a pauper, right? Yes. But now, at the same time, so then now you're bringing in the whole aspect about if you eat protein, even if you eat like 2 hours before bed.
No, 2 hours. 2 hours would excuse you.
Okay.
But 1 hour too, it's gonna be a challenge. You will not. You'll still be groggy in the morning.
So what do we eat then? Salads?
You're giving your body so much
work.
To break down the protein that you've just eten.
So what do we
So even when we talk about realistic, what did you say? There's realistic expectation versus reality. Yes. You know, we normalize our habits and our behavior and carry them as a blanket that is applicable to everybody else. But we have to study and say, this is healthy and that's not healthy. And the reason why it's not healthy, it's supported by these facts. The reason why it's healthy, it's supported by these facts. Now the choice becomes yours. You know. By the way, this is for your education, and you choose what you want to do.
With it. But please use it.
But at the end of the day, your psychological functioning, your thought processes will be interfered by whether you have good sleep or not. Your behavior will be affected by whether you have good sleep or not. Your mood, right? And then now the relationships, your productivity, your health, okay? They say even if you take a flu vaccine and you've not had good sleep, you're not doing yourself any favor. Right? Have the vaccine if you've had like 2 weeks of continuous. That way your body is able to build the antibodies. But if you have taken flu vaccine and you're in that state, now what happens when you have not slept well? Okay? Yes.
Oh my days, like it's a lot of things to consider, and it seems so easy. Like all these things actually starts from the fact that you're not sleeping well and you're not getting adequate
sleep. And then
sleep.
how are we saying it's your superpower when you're not taking care of it? Remember, your brain consumes 30% of the energy your body produces. So if it is taking 30%, and it is the brain that will tell you it's time to sleep. Right? Don't we need to take care of it? Shouldn't that be your most valuable asset? Yes.
I'm actually learning and relearning and unlearning all those things that we learned when we were growing up. Now, so good sleep, I want to say hygiene, okay? So how do we, because you brought it down like Vizuri-san, and it was so beautiful to just, first of all, just see you talk about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I wish we could learn this mapema and you know, make it a habit. And in our culture, what a world, you know, it would be. How do we, first of all, learn, because we've learned, had the conversation, how then do we make it a habit? How do we make it a culture? That even in generations to come, they'll be like, yeah, you know, my grandma used to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it helped. How do we make it a habit?
Remember, implementation starts with self. Right? Draw down your sleep routine.
Okay.
What exactly do I need to achieve with this sleep, right? You already know your work schedule. So you know, I need to get home at X time, do this, X, Y, Z. You actually have a list of activities and then go to bed at Z time, right? Now, your phone is across the room, your alarm is set, you've done a wind down, whether it is reading a book, journaling, praying, whatever it is that you need to do to wind down is done. Repetitive actions become habits. And I say this, that even if it is a weekend, you must repeat it. And now this one is very controversial because now the weekend is when now we have brunch and we want to chill. But remember, you will not recover your weekend sleep. Do you know why we hate Mondays?
Yes.
Because we're trying to recover from the weekend. And by the time you're recovering, remember Mondays, everything is moving on, everything is just quick and fast. Then Tuesday, you're trying to recover from your Monday. Wednesday, you're like, okay, it's kind of slowing down. Then Thursday is when everybody's trying to recover their sleep. Friday, who wants to go out? Like, there's actually a lot of activity. You are the number one person to decide. Like she said, choice is yours. Intention. But sleep is the second after nutrition. It is the one thing that holds you together. Fully. So if you eat well, everything else in your body, and then follow sleep, everything else is going to function properly.
We also talked about physical activity. How much of physical activity are we talking about? And how that is important even when we're thinking about, you know, all these other facets. Physical activity is important, and also sleep. How much of physical activity? Because we're very sedentary.
Now that's where now the whole physical activity comes in. We are mostly in jobs where we're seated on a desk, right? We are driving cars. We are just car to meeting to back home, right? If you're talking about physical activity, you also have to time your physical activity. I applaud everybody who does morning runs and morning gym. Power to you guys. I have mad respect to them because now at least they are awake and they're alert. And the funny thing about physical activity is, for the people who've done it consistently, you notice that they sleep early so they can actually take their physical activity. I would say that you should not take your physical activity too close to bedtime. And I mean those people who like to go to the gym at 7, at 8, and then you hope that you're going to crash out at, you know, for bedtime. You can time your mornings, or let's say 4 p.m. when your day is done, knowing that you're going to go home, wind down and get to bed at a specific time. Walking is good, going to the gym is good, but of course don't overdo. You know, your body will already tell you how much you've overdone when it comes to a workout.
I like that. And you know, studies say, World Health says 20 minutes of physical activities. We recommend minimum of 30. Continuous walk, jog, you know, do your star jumps or whatever it is, at least 30 minutes. That way, even hormonal production, you're able to produce hormones that allow you to relax. Now, there's also how you spread out your day as an aid to sleep. Like, you can have stimulating or demanding meetings more earlier in the day than later in the evening, right? And even how you function at home. If you want to brainstorm on ideas and things like those, it's best to brainstorm on these things earlier in the day than in the evening. Because in the evening, when you're supposed to sleep, that is for people who sleep at night. There are those whose job require them to sleep during the day. So around the time that you're supposed to sleep, if I come and give you very stimulating information, you will continue to process it. So instead of when you sleep, your brain reorganizing, it will be processing to find a solution for that. And that's why if you watch like a stimulating movie, you will replay it because you're still processing it, you know, rather than if you had watched this a little bit earlier.
I think that was me.
You have to, sort of like there's a culture, and we are advocating for it, where you have to have a sense of self-mastery. Mothers will master their children. They'll tell you, no, I know the reason why. But yourself, you haven't. Fathers, the same. You know, spouses, you know, will say, my husband, he behaves like this. I know the reason. But you cannot be able to. And you will gain self-mastery by getting feedback from those who are close to you. But by also, you can journal. To observe, because even if you come to her for a consultation on sleep, she will want to know how long has this been, right?
Okay.
So it's good to journal, put a note that you can refer to, you know?
Okay.
It can be on your phone, can be on a book, whatever your mood is.
Right.
So yeah, those are avenues. Yeah.
You talked about stress and how stress, of course, affects every single aspect of our lives, sleep included.
Yes.
So someone might be like, but sometimes it's difficult to avoid stress. Like, ni kama stress imekuwa part of our life. Kama una stress, you know, it's like it's normal to have stress, and people say, you know, I'm stressed,
right?
And then we move on.
You know,
so
stress,
how do we cope with stress that it doesn't affect us and sleep?
We say stress is necessary. There's good stress that fuels you to productivity. And there's a bad stress that causes you to be reckless, unproductive, or making mistakes, right? So observe the feelings you're getting while you're engaging in a certain activity. If the feeling is negative, then that activity is giving you negative stress. Okay? So I'll give a good example with a relationship. If you're in a relationship that always makes you feel you have to put in a lot of effort, you're draining because you're draining your emotions because you're putting a lot of energy to make that relationship work. And relationship does not mean
like romantic.
Can even be with your child, can be with your parent, can be with a friend, can be with a colleague. Okay? So the feeling you get will tell you the level of stress and the kind of stress you're going through. Now, negative stress is like putting your hand on fire and continuing to put it on fire and starting to burn, and you know, you're like, no, I have to prove a point. Who gets hurt?
It's you.
Who has to nurse the wound? It's you, right? So the same thing, you have to be very selective and be selfish about this. Personally, I am selfish. If you don't give me good energy, I will not be around you, and I won't be apologetic about it because I have to choose myself first. And somehow when you have those boundaries, you find that you put yourself in situations that work for you. Okay? So stress can make you too rigid that your thought process cannot think out of the box. Even if you're told, think out of the box, be creative. How will you be creative when you're under stress? It alters your genes. Now, genes, you know, when we talk of the study of genes, we are talking of in-depth. So even if it is altering your gene, it is going to your core and affecting how you receive, how you reproduce, how you function, how you interpret things. Now you become, you start operating on an unknown level rather than what you have already been trained. What you don't know is always fearful. Okay? But when you have practiced something, if you're an athlete and we tell you run for 100 meters, if you have practiced and you've seen your improvement on time, you'll have the confidence to do it. But if it is the first time for you, you will hold back. So when you undergo stress, you always are on survival mode, constant unknowns, constant fear, constant worry on sleep, replaying those negative emotions, horrific dreams, terrible relationships, you know, and so on and so forth.
All those things in one. Oh my gosh. Can I take that as a parting shot? Because I'm looking at the time and Jackson's like, yep, you need to get out. Get out. Okay. One thing that someone needs to get out of with, you know, from the conversation today, what would that be in like 10 seconds, literally?
Do not wait for your sleep to get worse to seek help.
Okay.
It is that, whether it is a child, a preteen, your mother, do not wait.
Do not wait. Hey, and we end the show on that note. Let me tell you, we've learned a lot. Like personally, I'm looking back and I'm like, hey, yep, that was you. That was you. That was you. You did this, you did that. And these are the things that we sort of like acquired over time. Dr. Wende's like, yeah, when we were younger, no, we did not learn these things. We acquired over time, okay? So we need to unlearn and relearn again. And I'm pretty sure that you've learned a lot from today's conversation. Allow us to say goodbye. My name is Winnie Lubembe, to give you time to think about it and also put it into action, okay? But as we do that, allow us to say a special thank you to Dr. Wende Kimi, who's a sleep consultant, and as well as Nancy Kabiru, who's a mental health psychologist, helping us really understand sleep and how important sleep is, not only to our bodies, but also functioning, okay? General well-being. So I hope that you've learned a lot. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless. Goodbye. Bye-bye.